Going live. There, I'm live. Good, cool. Now, listen. On the Google Classroom yesterday, I posted an assignment to knock out a major assessment on Edge Elastic. Hopefully you saw that. I'm just looking that up right now. It says Unit 2, Test Algebra 2. And I said, note the due date. I made it for Saturday, but I strongly suggest you do it sooner. You have one attempt. Email me if you have any issues or questions. That is a major assessment that I would like you guys to knock out, obviously, by Saturday at 2 o'clock. I'm giving you that extra time. Obviously, you'll have the extra time on Friday as well, and we'll kind of deal with that as time goes on. Today, we're going to review. And the review that I have set up is on quizzes. My objective is for you to do the best that you possibly can on this review that doesn't count against you, obviously. And then with the time that we have afterwards, I would like to review as many questions as we possibly can. Now, I know we're going to run out of time. I'm going to make a video, hopefully today, going over the problems from that quizzes review so that you have something to study from and that you're going to be able to knock out that major assessment before Saturday, 2 o'clock. Now, obviously, you do have Friday, and you know what happens when we come into the live stream on Friday for the virtual Friday. I usually like, here's my spiel, blah, blah, blah. I'll be here for questions. Go do your thing. And you'll have the time to do it. Don't worry. You all know what's happening Thursday? Cool. Several people nodding, several people staring blankly. Okay. Just so we're all on the same page, Thursday is PSAT for 10th graders, which means that if you are not in 10th grade, then you are not in school on Thursday. And that affects you guys because you're Tuesday, Thursday kids. Which means you do have time on Thursday as well. So yay, oh, happy day. So you'll have Thursday, you'll have Friday, and whatever you don't get done, obviously, for Saturday and all that fun stuff, it's going to be great. It says I have one person in there. All right, whatever, cool. So let me get the code for you so that you guys can all log on to what I need you to get to. Change the screen over. Oh no, it fell and it died. Let's see. Start alive, classic. One attempt, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to shuffle the answers. I'm going to put in redemption questions just for the fun of it. They're fun. I don't know. And continue here. Boom. There's the code. Now, for those in the computer, there's a giant ball of light sitting right on top of that number. I get that. That's what the number should be, 446416. Yes. My favorite horror movie? Oh, goodness. I would say either just the first two movies in the Saw franchise or Shaun of the Dead. Shaun of the Dead is better. I've never seen it, so I can't agree or disagree. Oh my gosh. Has anyone seen Shaun of the Dead? What are they teaching you? Gosh. Have you ever seen Hot Fuzz? Hot what? Hot Fuzz. Have you ever seen The World's End? Okay. You need to look up these movies. You really need to look up these movies, especially Shaun of the Dead. Edgar Wright, the guy who directed Scott Pilgrim versus the World, made this trilogy of movies that are disconnected from each other. It's called the Cornetto trilogy. It's Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End. You need to see it. Shaun of the Dead is a comedy zombie horror film.
Bro, those are the worst.
No.
No, I know. Those are the worst.
Oh my gosh. I hate you so much. You need to watch this movie. Hot Fuzz is a comedy action film. And then The World's End is a comedy science fiction film. Just go, watch it. Yeah, Shaun of the Dead. Thank me later. Anyway, what I'm going to suggest that you have a scrap piece of paper out because there are going to be some things that you're going to have to scratch out. And I want you to have that paper ready instead of having to dig for it, of course. And you do have the calculator that is on the Chromebook. So make sure you have that calculator open as well for whatever it is that you need to do. The major assessment that you guys are going to take from me is going to be on Edge Elastic, as the last one was. It's obviously not going to be all multiple choice. There is going to be some short, fill in the blank type stuff, click and drag type stuff. But I wanted to give you an idea as to what this whole thing was about. It's amazing. Anyway, I'm going to get started in a moment. So there's 6 of you signed in, but there's a couple people in the chat. I don't know. That's weird. All right. Well, the code's there for those who want to sign in. I'm just telling you, you could sign in. So that 6 goes up to a 7 or an 8 for those 2 people who are watching. I don't know if they know I'm watching them. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to click start. We're going to get going with this. Now, take your time. There are 23 questions. Some questions might take you 30 seconds. Some questions might take you a few minutes. They're all shuffled. They're all shuffled, so you're not seeing the questions in the same order as everyone else. Well, let's see what happens.
Oh my God, it's a spooky background.
It is. We did it. Awesome. You guys did considerably better. Don't tell them this. Well, I'll tell them this probably, but you did considerably better than yesterday's class. So yay. Okay, cool. When I say considerably better, I mean like, hold on. Quiz reports. Ooh. Yesterday's class did 57%, and you guys did 68%. So that is considerably better in my book. What I want to do is I want to take a look at some of these questions. Now, I'm not going to be able to go over every question that is on this thing today, but like I said, I would like to make a separate video kind of reviewing these questions for everybody. But for the time that we have, I'm going to focus, number one, on the questions that are highlighted in red. And then we'll backtrack for some of the questions that are highlighted in yellow. So what I'm going to suggest to you, you're done with the Chromebooks for now, so you can get rid of those. But I would ask for those notebooks to be out and open. If there ever was a thing as getting back to normal, and when I say normal, I'm putting that in quotes for obvious reasons, but if there was ever an opportunity to get back to normal, I think it would be awesome, and agree or disagree, that you guys would be able to like continue using the Chromebooks through all 4 years of high school. Fair? I think the Chromebooks are very helpful. Anyway, to this. So what I would like to do, click, boom. I'm going to start with number 8. Now, in terms of what you're writing down, I will show you what I'm writing down in a moment. What I would like to do is I would just like to write down some pertinent information in regards to this particular question. It says that they want you to use the quad formula to find the solutions to the following problem. And just looking at it, it looks like 1 out of 6 got this one correct. So what you need to write down for now is just this. I'm entitling this major review because it's reviewing the unit on quadratics. The quadratic that they gave you, y equals 3x squared plus 8x minus 1. And they want you to solve using the quad formula. There's a reason why they say they want you to solve using the quad formula. This particular problem cannot be solved by factoring. It can't. You could try it. 3 times -1 is -3. You can't find 2 magic numbers that multiply to -3 and add up to 8. That's not really possible for this particular problem. So I go about the quad formula. First, I'm going to calculate my discriminant. 8 squared minus 4 times 3 times -1. Be very careful with how you calculate that thing. Be very careful with how it's done. 64 minus 4 times 3 times -1. Boom. 76. Now, a positive discriminant is going to indicate 2 real solutions. However, since that positive discriminant is a 76, meaning not a perfect square, those 2 real solutions are not going to be nice. -b plus or minus the square root of the discriminant over 2 times a. Now, I said the formula, but that's not what I wrote. I said -b, so I wrote -8 plus or minus the square root of the discriminant, square root of 76, divided by 2 times a, which would be 2 times 3, which is 6. Now, in a nice world, I guess, I could keep it like this. I could try to simplify this, where 76, I believe, you could divide a 4 out of it, and you could simplify some junk down. But if you look at the choices that they give you, hold on. If you look at the choices that they give you, are decimals, which means I probably need to go about trying to find a decimal for this problem. You have to be very careful with how you type this thing in. I'm going to zoom in here. Zoom. Parentheses. I'm putting parentheses around the top of my fraction, closing it, dividing it by 6. Now, again, on your calculators, you have a different way of doing it. I'm just going to bring up my phone calculator right here, just so Again, the visual comparison can be made. Zoom out. There we go. Parentheses, -8 plus square root. Now, again, doesn't open up a parenthesis, 76 dash parenthesis. Just be very careful with how you do that, because you just want to make sure that you get those numbers correct. I don't know why I hit enter again on the left. Do you remember how I bring this all back up without having to retype it? Second enter. There you go. Second enter brings back the previous entry. You could easily just change that plus sign to a minus. It's very helpful, so you don't have to retype all this junk. Boom! And you get those two answers. That was fun. Come here, marker. Permanent marker. Doing your thing. Anyway. I'm going to get an answer of 0.1196 and -2.786 approximately. I got those two numbers. Let me double check. Quizzes. And there it is right there. The green answer on the far left. So be very careful with how you type this in. Be very careful with how you type this in. Let's take a look at the next red question. The next red question, that was number 8. 15. The dimensions of a blanket. So let me write down some stuff. What are the dimensions of the picnic blanket with an area? This is number 15. Of 22x squared minus 7x minus 2. Okay. Flip. That's what I'm writing down then. So they say a picnic blanket has these dimensions. The picnic blanket is a rectangle with a certain length and a certain width or whatever, what have you. You decide to label that thing. Length times width would give you that quadratic. The implication, the inference that you would have to make is the idea that you would have to factor this thing. Because if you can factor this thing, if you could break this quadratic apart into two sets of parentheses, one would represent the length and one would represent the width. As you can see by the choices that they gave you, the choices that they gave you were binomials. They just didn't have the parentheses. So I'm going to do a little Tucker method here. Again, you can do whatever method you want, as long as it works. A little Tucker method action. I think this is the easiest. Looks like a -11 and a +4 work, because -11 times 4, -11 plus 4, it matches those numbers that you need. Ooh, I'm going to do a little T-chart action going on here. 22x, 22x. A lot of stuff is going to simplify. Oh, okay. Divide by 11, divide by 11, divide by 2, divide by 2. So I end up with 2x minus 1 and 11x plus 2. That's what it looks like. 1 would be the length, 1 would be the width. I have no idea which one's which, but that does not matter. What matters is that I select the correct answer. Let me see what we got here. 2x minus 1, 11x plus 2. Yep, third choice right there. That's that third choice. Oh, it was all spread out. Look at that. You got 2, 1, 2, 1 in terms of the distribution of answers. I know, right? I had a kid one year. It was a couple years ago. So he's graduated. But in the middle of a class, there was like a lull. And he yawned. But he didn't yawn like that. He yawned like in the back of the class. And I looked at him. And he was just like, just sitting there, doing nothing. And I looked at him and I just started, I didn't start yelling at him. I just went, see, I could do it too. And then he never did it again. It's hilarious. I like that kid. Anyway, that's this. Number 22. I'm sorry. I don't know why these stories keep popping up in my head. Number 22. I got to write this stuff down. Oh my gosh. Jason launched a rocket for a physics experiment. This equation can be used to find the height in feet of the rocket after 2 seconds. h equals negative 16 t squared plus 288 t, oh my gosh, plus 8. And then the question is, how many seconds will it take for the rocket to reach the ground? So this rocket is launched, and they want to know how much time went by for this thing to hit the ground. It starts 8 feet above the ground. You can always tell by the C value. If you plug in a zero for t, 0,8, that's just your starting point. Now, obviously, that's not the answer to the question. They want to know how long until it hits the ground. They want to know how much time went by in seconds along the bottom of this thing. Well, right there. What's the height right there? What is the height of the rocket right there? Yeah, the height is 0. It's something, comma 0, meaning I'm going to plug a 0. I'm going to plug a 0 into this thing. Now you have a couple options here. The problem does not specify how you solve it. Does not at all. But if you wanted to, you could attempt factoring, but I just tested it right here. Oh, I just tested it right here. If you actually test, oh, you know what that's called? Lisdexics of the world untie. You never heard that phrase? No. Dyslexics of the world unite. So lisdexics of the world untie. Nobody gets me anymore. So let me do the real calculation, because that was a my bad right there. Oh, it still wouldn't work. Let me show you what I mean. In order to determine whether or not something is factorable, this is what I do. If I want to know whether or not something is factorable, I immediately go looking for the discriminant. If the discriminant's a perfect square, then it's factorable. And I maybe I want to factor it. But clearly the discriminant's not a perfect square based on the calculation that I just showed you here. So unfortunately, I got to go ahead and do the quad formula. Let me check the answers real quick. Oh, nice. They give you whole numbers. I wonder what's going to happen. Most of the time, I have no idea what's going to happen. Let's see here. 288 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times 8. The phrase that I said is not a very common phrase. There are a lot more common phrases than that. Have you guys ever heard the phrase, I put the emphasis on the wrong syllable? Really? All right. I'm full of it. I don't know. I'm full of them. I'm also full of it. I'm also full of hot air, but still. Negative b plus or minus the square root of that discriminant, which is a terrible number, but okay. The whole thing divided by 2 times a. Now, instead of writing 2 times a, I wrote negative 32 because 2 times negative 16. And then, again, you have to know how to type this thing into the calculator. Make sure that you are typing it in correctly. I should be getting 2 answers. Yep, and there they are. I'm going to show you in a moment. Slide that thing up. Let's zoom in on the calculator. And you can see both calculations. It'll focus in a moment. There it is. Both calculations, one done with a plus, one done with a minus. I get an answer of negative 0.03 and an answer of approximately 18. I'm hoping that you're able to recognize which one actually is the correct answer based on the picture that we drew. The picture that we drew, this thing is moving forward in time. Clearly, it looks like 18 seconds. Let's take a look at the quizzes and see what they gave me. Oh, look at that. 18 seconds. But that's what you would have to do for this thing. You can't just guess based on the numbers that they give you. You got to deep dive this thing. Yeah. Use what is appropriate. Let's see. That was number 22. I believe number 23 was also red. Huzzah. Oh, I love that. Okay, hold on. I'm not going to write anything down for this one. I'm not going to write anything down for this one. Instead, I'm just going to I'm going to do something else. Hold on. Let me freeze the screen real quick. Freeze. And yeah. There we go. Unfreeze. I wanted to hide which one was the correct answer. This one was to select all the potential factors of the given graph. Looks like 17% accuracy. Oh, average time. Look at the average time, right? That's interesting. I love looking at average time. Let's agree on something. Can we agree on what this number is? What is it? Yeah. More specifically, negative 3,0, but regardless. Or the solution of x equals negative 3. Can we agree on that? Cool. What about the other number? What's that one? Yeah. It should be 8,0 or x equals 8. Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. Those numbers are what they are. But those are not the answers to this problem. It says select all the potential factors. They didn't say solutions. They didn't say roots, x-intercepts, or zeros. Let me repeat those 4 things. Roots, x-intercepts, zeros, solutions. All of those are the same thing. All 4 of those things are the things that I just wrote. These are the x-intercepts. These are the solutions. These are the zeros. These are the roots. But they are not the factors. The factors are the result of factoring. The factors are those things where you would have like x plus or minus a number in parentheses. The factor that you get from here, if you worked backwards, you would get x plus 3. The factor that you would get from this is x minus 8. Those are the factors of these 2 problems. Click. And you can see that right there in green. And again, I understand why most people would have picked those 2 answers. I totally understand why most people would have picked those 2 answers. But unfortunately, they do not work as factors. We always have to pay attention to the terminology that they are asking of you in these problems. Please, please, please be very careful. Be very careful. All right, let's see what else we got. Click. Zoom up to the top. Boom. Shoot. Question 8. I did that longest question. Ooh. Okay, hold on. 4 questions. All right, let's go to 21. 21, you had a yellow one, but it said you spent the most amount of time on it. Excellent. Let's talk about this one. It was a 67% accuracy, which could be better. It's in yellow. Let's talk about this. This is number 21. I'm going to write down h equals negative 16t squared plus 84t plus 100. How high do the fireworks get? How high do they get? Question mark. Cool. Draw a little picture. I'm drawing this a little bit larger so I can add some more detail to it. There's 100 feet off the ground. That's where they start. They're fired. Woo! And then at some point, they're going to explode. Maybe here. Actually, it was a really cool firework. You know the best place in Barnegat to watch fireworks on the 4th of July? It's not the dock. You know why? Because there's like 1 billion people there. Not this year, but The best place to watch fireworks, if you don't live on the peninsula, or the island, or whatever the heck you want to call it, in Barnegat, is the Barnegat Bay Beach. You're blocked by a little house, but the fireworks go over the house. I'm just saying. Anyway, plus your kids don't get bored because they go in the water. Anyway, how high does it get? This is the highest point. This is your vertex. How high do they get? Your vertex is calculated using the formula -b over 2a. Notice how I strategically had the firework explode so that I could extend my writing underneath of it. Anyway, -b over 2 times a. There it is. Do you know why most of the... Wait, no, actually, no. You guys aren't in physics. You guys are in chemistry, right? No? Are you in physics? Cool. You're in physics? Oh, you're in physics. Okay, I didn't know who was talking. Have you guys gotten to acceleration acceleration due to gravity? -9.8 meters per second squared. Okay. In the metric system, acceleration due to gravity, meaning an object falling in free fall, falls with an acceleration of -9.8 meters per second squared. Okay, that's what it falls at, -9.8 meters per second squared. But this isn't meters, this is feet. An object falling due to gravity falls at -32. -32 feet per second. -32 feet per second. That is the coefficient due to gravity. But when you throw it into the equation is typically written as the following. The position function due to gravity is x of t equals -1/2 g t squared plus the initial velocity t plus the initial height. It's usually written like that. But then if you throw in the g as 32, boom, 32. Actually, no, the negative isn't there. The negative's here. Whatever. Then 1/2 times -32 is -16. That's why it's -16. So anyway, back to this. Woo! Math. I enjoyed physics when I was in college. I don't know why. Anyway, back to this. This would be -84 over -32. What are you guys learning in physics?
I think we're doing acceleration, but we're also doing velocity time graphs. Because we just got done with position time graphs and now we're doing velocity time graphs.
Okay. And then eventually you'll probably put it all together.
Yeah.
Okay. Fun fact. Calculus. You take derivatives of functions. The derivative of the position function is the velocity function. And the derivative of the velocity function is the acceleration function. It's so amazing how they're all connected.
Next math, what's your favorite subject? Science?
Math is the only subject that exists. Science is math. English is a made-up subject. History is written by the winners. Am I wrong?
I was just looking for simple answers. I don't know what word.
No, this isn't a conspiracy theory. This is how life works. Anyway, back to this. No. 2.625. Now, 2.625 is the number that I get here, but it is not my answer. It represents the number of seconds that it takes for the object to reach its highest point. So what you would have to do is you would have to take that number and shove it back in a violent fashion. 2,000 years ago, when the only schools of educational thought were the Greek schools, they taught something called philosophy. But philosophy wasn't the philosophy that we have today. It was really mathematics. Philosophy was broken up into 4 distinct subgroups that they called the quadrivium. And the quadrivium are the basics of all educational thought today? By the way, the answer is 210.25 feet. If you plug that thing back in, 210.25 feet. That is the highest point that the firework reaches. Let me just double check real quick. Pa-pa! Yep, there it is. 210.25. I just wanted to see that. Oh, look, 2.625 was one of the choices, too. I didn't realize that. That's funny. I'm glad no one chose that, though. I'm really glad no one chose that. But that's how you would have to go about doing this thing. Plug that number back in. Just for the sake of argument, Greek quadrivium. The Greek quadrivium was made up of arithmetic. Can't see it. Arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. Those were the only subjects that were taught. They were all mathematically related. They said that somebody who understood the quadrivium could understand the world, because that is the only subject that mattered. Everything was learned through mathematics. History was learned through mathematics. Language was learned through mathematics. Science was learned through mathematics. Everything. Just saying.
I'm gonna assume you don't like English.
I married an English teacher.
No, you don't.
That's true. I make fun of it all the time.
Yeah.
No, I do enjoy English. I do enjoy reading. I do enjoy writing. I do enjoy coming up with various things of wordplay and things of that nature. I just like to make fun of English because it's literally a made-up language where the language is constantly evolving and the rules that we follow today are not the same rules followed 100 years ago. I know. Anyway, pay attention to Google Classroom, where that Edulastic major is. It's due on Saturday by 2 o'clock. I gave you extra time to do it. If you have any questions, message me, and we'll see you then. Woo! I might not see any of you for like 2 weeks. Be sad.